Hello and welcome back. I have an awesome guest today. The incomparable Larry Bilotta, who has for years help to transform lives, marriages, and just helping people live their best selves and lives. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for being here.
Okay, now that I'm here, we can do something.
Yeah, we can. And I want to say to people listening that before I began recording, Larry addressed my vocal difference in a really kind of amazing way and said he is feeling a bit more inspired meeting me, and that speaks volumes about you and what you have done. So you're typically talking about your marriage, helping others, but what my listeners want to know is your back story. Where'd you come from? I know we are both Midwesterners. You from Wisconsin and me from Michigan. So, if you would give us your upbringing.
Okay, so you're talking about background.
Yeah.
Um, so background, we get some geography. So I'm born in 1949 in Chicago, and I'm born
Oh,
to a mother who is an alcoholic and a father who's a gambler. Okay, so uh, that's their high
wow.
items. Alcoholic and a gambler, and out of alcoholic and a gambler came all kinds of troubles.
Yeah.
Um, but they were really nice people. They were nice people, and so they were not arguing people. They weren't mean people. They were just nice people. They're trying to get along. And so my father was pursuing gambling through the horses. My mother was pursuing alcohol by going down to bars and socializing, and that was their method of getting to be happy. And so I grow up in that. And so I have the scale I've been talking about for years.
Well done. I am so sorry. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
So, yeah, just give me the sign.
Yeah.
Um,
Good. Yep.
so, uh, by being raised by them in the city of Chicago, that's where I'm grounded into a life of figure out your own life. And
Mm.
they didn't teach me anything. They didn't really talk to me or really tell me anything. And so I had to learn myself. And because I learned myself, I was in this twilight zone of having to raise myself, having to learn everything myself. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up marrying a very strong, strong woman. And I did that because my parents gave me a message, stay married and stay miserable. And her parents
Wow.
gave her the same message, stay married,
Wow.
stay miserable. Right now,
Mm.
that's a subconscious message, but it's very strong and it can hold you in
Yeah.
place for a very long time under all
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah.
So by being held in that place, she became what I call my teacher. And as my teacher, her idea was to torment me into what she wanted me to become.
Ugh.
And so, uh, as I'm learning the process of this tormenting, horrible place, I had to decide to become a learner because she couldn't learn anything from me. She had to learn in her own way, and which I didn't understand. And so I had to learn. And the way I learned is by writing everything on yellow notepads and writing everything I thought, everything I believed, everything I saw, everything I heard, all the things that were going on in my life. I was teaching myself what was happening. And so that's
Uh-huh.
how I ended up creating a course over 27 years of this marriage made in hell, because that's my story. The 27 years of a marriage made in hell, and the 28th year I fell in love with my wife. So when I say that because I don't publish what really happened. I fell in love with myself, and when I fell in love with myself,
Uh-huh.
because all those 27 years I didn't feel good about myself because I couldn't, and so I had to feel better about myself by what I was learning. And so what was happening is Marcia, the person who's delivering all this pain, is what I call my pain provider. As my
Mm.
pain provider, she caused me to suffer, and when I suffered, I learned. When I suffered, I was motivated to learn, and I was motivated to draw conclusions and find out what things mean. And so that's what I was doing. I was doing that for 27 years. But we were in a 40-year marriage. Okay, so 40 years after the 27 years when I fell in love with myself, she began to treat me differently. And the reason she did is not because of anything I said or anything she said. She started to treat me differently because she sensed that I was loving and respecting myself. And so she changed her behavior because I changed my behavior about myself. And I started to give off a very different energy, a very
Yeah.
different vibration,
Yeah.
a different attitude, a different mood, a different frequency. I was giving off a very different feeling to her. And so she act differently. And it wasn't announced, it wasn't pronounced, it was just a very subtle thing that just started to happen. So, to give you a historical perspective, I went into that marriage when they impeached Richard Nixon, the summer of 1974. And so that's how long I was in from the time they impeached Richard Nixon to the time they elected the second Bush. That's how long it was. Right. So
Wow.
27 years of a marriage made in hell. But what I needed was I needed pain to learn. And so I teach that now. Teach that nobody learns when they're happy. Everybody learns when they're in pain. Now we all want to be happy, but that's not when we learn. We don't actually conclude anything. We're not motivated to create anything. We need to have pain to learn. So that's what my story is. My story is I'm a person who learned in pain. And so people will ask me, are you a psychologist? And they're saying, really, like, do you have any college degrees to tell me that I should listen to you? Is what they say. And so
Yeah.
I say, well, my degree is I spent 27 years with him in a marriage made in hell, a total of 40 years in that marriage before my wife died in 2019. And
Mm.
when she died, that was the end of the learning. And it was a huge thing that I couldn't see coming. But what I realized is I'm going into a brand new place. I had to learn a whole new set of things, and so I was single for 4 years until I met my next wife, and then I married her. And the reason is because I really believed I needed to be in a relationship. I couldn't not be in a relationship. I like to tell the story. I made a very bad single guy. because I didn't have all the single guy stuff of being single. And so in a relationship, what's wonderful about a relationship? In my second wife's case, uh, she can be pretty demanding. She can be pretty hard. She's a nicer person. She's not as mean as Marcia was, but she's a lot nicer, and she's a lot more stern in her teaching. And so now that I've been prepared by Marcia, I'm ready to be married to my new wife Eugenia, and that's another story for another time. But that's a little bit about my grounding and where I came from. And so, by the way, in all the those years that I was writing all those legal pads, what I was writing is everything I was learning. And I was learning is I was going to spiritual books, I was going to self-help books, I was going to self-help authors, I was going to seminars, I was going to newspapers and magazines and all kinds of sources. Because what I was looking for what was true. Because when I found out what was true, then I would see it and I'd say, oh, I know that's true. And then I believe in it.
Apologize.
Okay.
Keep it going.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that's a little backstory of I have no my education is being in pain. That's my education.
Yep.
When people go to college, they say they're in pain, but colleges aren't really structured to make your life miserable. What makes your life miserable is a person who treats you badly, and you're treated badly because you give off an energy of treat me badly. Now you don't know that that's you're doing that,
No.
but that's why I teach what I call the energy train, and the energy train really is a great way to sum up what's happening to you as a person. Because what the energy train is seven cars. So my mood, my attitude, my feelings, my frequency, my vibrations, right? The energy train is carrying all your emotion every day, all the time. So imagine the train goes out, unloads all your emotion, all your hopes, all your dreams, all your feelings, all your moods, all that stuff is going out. And as it's going out, the person who receives the train is the person who you love, or your son, or your daughter, or the people close to you. And that energy train is literally carrying all your feelings. And so the person who receives it doesn't even know how to talk about it. They don't know how to talk about all your feelings. They don't know how to say, "Oh, so I see you're worried about something." They don't talk about it. There's no talking involved. So what they do is they receive a feeling and then they make a decision. Receive the feeling, make a decision. So this is the way it works. The feeling comes, it unloads, and they get a feeling and they say, "Oh, I'm not doing that anymore." That's what this decision sounds like. It sounds like, "I'm not doing that anymore. Forget that. I'm not going to stay here." Right? It's a little decision that they make inside, and they make it because of the energy coming from you. And so now we have the train going out, but now the train comes back. What's the train coming back? It's coming back with all the emotions of that person. And so now you feel what they're feeling, and you feel it, and you make decisions too. Like, oh no, now what? Right? You make decisions that are like convoluted, strange, weird decisions that you don't even know you're making because you're picking up the energy of that person on that energy train. And so so if you imagine the train's going over round and round, it's going out and coming back, going out and coming back. And everything that's in your feelings are literally being given to that person. So that means there's no secrets. You can't really hide anything because they can feel it. They can feel everything. They can't identify it. They can't put it into words. They can't give explanations, but they feel everything. And because they feel everything, now, like so in my 27 years of a marriage made in hell, what was I doing? I was falling in love with myself slowly, day by day, month by month. I was starting to feel better about myself. And when I started to feel better about myself, what was happening? The train was carrying new emotion. a new set of feelings, and she was feeling it. And when she started feeling it, she started treating me differently. She started treating me better. And so we'd say, well, she started to respect you, for example. But don't identify words to try and explain what's happening. The train goes out, they feel it, and they make a decision. That's the way of life. The train comes to you, you feel it, you feel that person, and you make a decision. And when you make the decisions, you don't even know quite what decisions you're making because you're not thinking about a train. You're not thinking there's a train that's going around and around carrying emotion. You don't think that way. So that becomes what you're trying to do is you're trying to change the energy on your train, and you have to teach yourself, how do you do it? How do you actually live the life where your emotions are starting to change what the train is carrying? So I'd add that to my background.
Okay. So, um, in order to feel other people's emotions, you are empathic. You can sense others. At what moment back in your journey, what was the catalyst or defining moment where you realize you needed work? Like, wow, if I heal or do my work, this might change everything.
So you said defining moments, and I'd like to say there was defining moments, something
Yeah,
you can actually identify.
yeah,
So it was a defining moment. Uh, but life is not like that. It's not like defining moments. We would like it to handle defining moments, identify defining moments, explain the defining moments, and we say the lesson I learned in this defining moment was. But that's not how life is. Life is 1 second at a time, second by second by second. And when you stretch all the seconds together, which is our perception of time, we start to realize, like, whoa, what happened? What happened there? And so we start to take history and try to collect all that happened and try to bunch it up into things that meant something to us. Because what is at the core of a human being? The core of the human being is the what comes in the five senses and what the meaning we assign to it. What comes in the five senses, sight, touch, sound, etc. The five senses are bringing in information, and we have to establish the meaning. So uh, I tell a story about a rat, and the rat is called the cruise ship analogy. So the cruise ship analogy is that you are a cruise ship in the analogy. And as a cruise ship, you have a rat on your ship that you don't know is there. And then there's another ship, which is the person you marry, and that's a cruise ship, and she doesn't know that there's a rat on her ship. So two rats on two ships. So these two rats have radios, and they're sending a message back and forth called against energy that's so severe that the ships are separating because of it. Now, the ships don't know why they're separating, but they're separating because of the rats. So you go to a seminar, your ship goes to a seminar, and you find out you might have a rat. So you go to the trouble to find the rat and get it off the ship. Now, once this happens, there's now two ships, but this time there's only one rat. The rat that's on her ship is still pushing very hard, but there's no rat on your ship to push back. And because there's no rat on your ship to push back, what happens is the one rat that's pushing is not pushing hard enough because it doesn't have enough power. It takes two rats to push apart two ships. One rat can't do it alone. So when we take the example of the rat and we say, well, what is the rat in the story? The rat is the pain of your childhood. And what is the pain of your childhood? Well, that's 10 years. You're awake 16 hours a day. That's about 55,000 hours. 55,000 hours of messages coming in to your subconscious over and over again from the people who raise you. And the people who raise you are not perfect people. They've got faults and problems and struggles. And those faults and problems and struggles all come on you. And they come on you and they land in your subconscious mind. But the world doesn't even know what the subconscious mind is. They just know there's a subconscious mind. And so in the subconscious, there's urges, there's needs, there's longings. There's no thinking. There's no thinking in the subconscious. So what's down there is all the things that happened to you, all the messages that they gave you in those 55,000 hours. So what does your life become? Your life becomes what the subconscious makes it into. And because your conscious mind, imagine a big vat. That's a big vat of the subconscious mind. And above the big vat is a little jar. The little jar is your conscious mind. And your subconscious mind is sending up messages that go up into the subconscious mind, and all of a sudden you become aware of it. And so the subconscious and the conscious are kind of divorced because the conscious mind doesn't know anything about the subconscious mind, doesn't know what it is or how to reach it. So you start to slowly learn. And that's what I was doing when I was writing all those yellow papers, is I was starting to realize and connect pieces of the story of why do I do this? Why does this happen? And then I start to answer it. I answer it because I'm afraid of what they think of me. I'm worried about how I'm going to be seen by them. I fear that I start to answer my questions with what really is the rat on my ship. The rat on my ship is the author of doubt and fear and anxiety. And so that's my analogy. The analogy is there's a rat on your ship. You're the ship, you're not the rat. You're good, and the rat's not good. And so all those messages that are in your subconscious don't help you. It doesn't help you to literally be talked to by the rat. And so I ended up developing a course that I teach to men and women separately. And one of the things I teach is what is the rat, and what do you to remove the rat from your ship? Because if the rat is on your ship and you don't know it's on your ship, you're in trouble because now your ship's got a rat. And we know what cruise ship with a rat is not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Because what'll happen when the customers see the rat, all kinds of bad things happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the rat analogy is helpful, because that's what I was discovering in those years of what is happening to me. Why is it happening? There's something inside me that I didn't ask for, and it's real. And it's really here. It's really here. It's making all these bad things happen, and I had to find out what it was. And so that's what I was. A big part of what I was learning was what is the rat? How does it work?
Okay. So you talk in very broad terms. So my listeners want to know what happened when you realized there is a rat. I mean, go deep in personal into your story. Um, I appreciate the analogies, but I want to know, and my listeners want to know deeper, go deeper. You did talk more high level about your childhood, but I still don't have a sense of you and more of what you wrote in your journals. You're giving me high level stuff, okay?
Okay.
And having gone through 50 years of trauma, I could also be generic in my story, but that doesn't help others. So I need you to go deeper and explain some of your transformative moments.
Oh, okay. So you're looking for a personal story.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so,
am.
so here's a personal story. My daughter was 8 years old, and I would go on seminars by myself, trying to learn something that I didn't know. And so I went to this particular seminar. I was gone for 5 days, and I came up with some kind of excuse for why I was gone. But it was a physical transformation seminar in that I had a beard and I shaved it off at the seminar. Okay, now my wife, Marcia, only saw me with a beard, and that's all she knew. And when I showed up on the doorstep, I was clean shaven, and she was shocked, and she didn't know what to do except get what she did. She got angry. She got angry whenever she got any kind of thing. So she had anger, or she had normal. Those are her two positions.
Yeah.
And so she got angry. And when she got angry, uh, we started fighting there at the front stairs. And so the reason I remember this is my daughter drew a picture, and she drew a picture of her crying, holding the railings of the stairs, crying,
Yeah.
and saying, "Stop fighting,"
Wow.
and because we were really fighting a lot. Uh, because she's shocked because she didn't want me to shave off my beard, and
Yeah.
she was mad that I was gone 5 days, and where were you really? And she doesn't want to hear about any learning seminar or anything like that. And so she was yelling and screaming because she was a fighter. She was born a fighter because that's what her parents did. They fought. My parents shut down. And so we lived in two different styles. I was living in a shutdown value system. She was living in a fighting value system, yelling, screaming, and hitting. Right.
Yeah.
So yelling and screaming and hitting was what she knew how to do when she got upset. So that's a moment, right? And that defining moment produced this drawing of my 8-year-old daughter, uh, that has her crying tears. She's drawing tears as she
Wow.
holds on to the railing, uh,
Yeah.
and say, "Stop fighting! Stop fighting!" And she's never drawn anything like that. Anything like that. When she drew anything, it was simple things, but she was never drew a complex idea of stop fighting and her crying, right? So that really got my attention. So
Yeah.
in that pinnacle moment, because what I did is I went away for 5 days. And so I went away for 5 days with really no explanation, because
Wow.
the little simple story I told wasn't believable anymore. Okay, so where were you? I was at a marriage seminar. I was learning about marriage. I was learning about myself, right? She didn't want to hear all those stories. So what Marcia was a wall. When you have a person in your life who's very difficult, who's just they do things in your life that make your life hard. And so there's lots of things that people can do. They can stonewall you. They can reject you. They can talk badly about you. They can blame you. They can criticize you. They can hit you. There are all kinds of things that people can do, right? And when those things are happening, you're under pressure. And when you're under pressure, an amazing thing happens in terms of your motivation to learn what's happening to you and why it's happening. And so when you have great pressure from anybody. You can have a daughter who's pressuring you in some form. You can have a husband, a wife. You can have a father. You can have a mother. You can have some family member who's pressuring you and making your life really hard. And so when I was going through that, I started to see, because I understood the idea of the rat. Um, and so I drew a kind of different analogy to help myself, because I had to help myself from one place into a new place. And so what I call this is the ocean and the beach. So I'm going to give you what is an analogy, because I use analogies to teach myself things. And so I call this the ocean and the beach. And so in the ocean, there's sharks. And when you're swimming in the ocean, you're bit by sharks because they're faster than you and they can outswim you. All right, so that's the ocean. And the ocean is a place where against energy is generated by sharks. And so when you are against things, you're mad, you're frustrated, you're now blaming and attacking yourself. You can blame and attack yourself, you can blame and attack somebody else, but you're blaming and attacking. Okay, so that's all part of being in the ocean of sharks. So then we have the idea of the beach. And what is the beach? The beach is a place where there are no sharks. Sharks can't come on the beach because they have to stay in the water. So if you're on the beach, you kind of see yourself struggling out of the ocean and getting on the beach. So I'm doing this because I'm trying to find myself leaving one place and getting to another place. So I came up with the ocean and the beach analogy. And so I started to see there's 4 steps for getting out of the ocean. And I define these steps because these steps help me. Because what I'm doing is I'm teaching myself. So the idea of getting out of the ocean is the idea of going through these 4 steps. So I'll give you what the 4 steps are, so you can understand how I applied an analogy to my life of this very difficult 8-year-old daughter crying.
Yeah.
So step 1 is called acceptance. And so this is the first step out of the ocean. So acceptance is, I accept that Marcia is rejecting me and punishing me, and she's rejecting me, and this is just a fact that this is, I accept it. I accept that this is happening. So the first step is to accept it. The second step is to have gratitude. Now this is a little fancier because gratitude is not something, when you're in the ocean, you don't have any gratitude. There's just too much going wrong. And so I have gratitude that Marcia's rejecting me because I learned from pain, and this is the pain that teaches me. So now I'm realizing that, okay, I just started with acceptance, then I moved to gratitude, and I said something about pain. This is the pain that teaches me. And so now I'm acknowledging that this pain hurts and it's teaching me. So now I'm creating a meaning. I'm creating a meaning for what is pain. And so then we go to the third step, and now I say, um, what do I love about you, Marcia? What do I love about you, Marcia? Now, this is not something that I would do in the ocean, but I'm coming onto the beach now. So I'm now going to ask, what do I love about you, Marcia? And so that changes my whole frame of reference, my whole way of seeing the what's happening in the world. What do I love about you? All right, this is the person I'm mad at. This is the person I'm just resisting in every way. And what am I going to do now? I'm going to ask, what do I love about you? And so what I do is I name 3 things that I love about her. So first, I love her strength. And so second, I love her ability to teach me things through the pain. And fourth, I love her. She's got a really, really strange sense of humor. And so I would list those things that I love about her. So when you name three things, you're really changing the whole perception of what you're in. So now, first the acceptance, then gratitude, and then what do I love about you? That's the first three steps. And then the fourth step, and now this is the place where quantum forgiveness is. Now this is called quantum forgiveness because it's really coming from quantum physics, and quantum physics is pointing out that in the world of the atom, there's lots and lots of empty space. And so what quantum forgiveness is doing is it's saying this is good, pure and innocent, all is forgiven and released. So
Wow.
we can say that as I am good, pure and innocent, all is forgiven and released. You can say we are good, pure and innocent, all is forgiven and released. Now that forgiveness part is really capping the four steps, because that fourth step is a big part of that gratitude leads to that. But then when you finally get to that fourth step, you actually forgive them by saying, we are good, pure and innocent, all is forgiven and released. And so now that that's been out there, it's been released from it's out there and it's in you, it's existing in this place. You're now moving out of the ocean and you're now moving onto the beach. So we have a perception about the beach. Sharks can't get to the beach. Why? Because the beach is a safe place. There's no sharks on the beach. And we have that belief in ourselves. And because we have that, we now see ourselves on palm trees and sand and no sharks. And because now we're there on the beach, and now we've got these four steps taking us on the beach, now we got to find out, well, am I going to stay? Am I going to stay on the beach? And the reason we're going to, I want to deal with staying on the beach is because I want to find out, am I in dupe or am I in cars? Now, what is dupe in cars? Dupe in cars is an analogy I'm teaching myself because I'm going to get out of this ocean. I'm going to get onto this beach so I can start feeling better about myself. And this is what a lot of these tools that I'm inventing. I'm inventing them because I'm trying to feel better. I want to feel happier. I want to feel something I feel good about all the time, because I don't want to live in the world where I came from. I don't want to live in the ocean, because in the ocean, everything is what's wrong. It's always what's wrong. What's wrong? Well, how to fix it. What's wrong and how to fix it. So I want to get out of that world. I want to be in a place where I can think in terms of dupe and car. So dupe stands for disturbed, urgent, pressed, and edgy. So those four words, I found out that's actually what leads to the presence of the rat. So when the rat's going to come for you, you're disturbed, you're urgent, you're pressed, and you're edgy. That's the beginning of what's happening. It's going to come for you, and that's how you know it's coming. So then we come for cars. Cars stands for calm, all is well, reassured, and suddenly know. KNOW. I suddenly know. Calm, all is well, reassured, suddenly know. So we have two acronyms: dupe and cars. Disturbed, urgent, pressed, and edgy, and cars, calm, all is well, so reassured, suddenly know. So now when you get out of the ocean, you got to ask the question, am I more dupe or more cars? And so this is something only you can answer. Only you can answer whether I'm dupe or cars. Because
Yeah.
if you're more dupe, you're feeling more dupe energy. If you're more cars, you're feeling more cars energy. And cars energy is helping you stay on the beach. And
Yeah.
so that's actually how I started to get through a lot of things, by actually seeing this ocean and beach difference. And so I don't want to be in the ocean. I want to be on the beach, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through the four steps. I'm going to find out if I'm in dupe or cars, and if I feel like I'm more still dupe, I got to do the four steps again. And now I do them again, and the next time I do them, I'm now feeling differently. Because what am I doing? Every time I do this, I'm changing the meaning. I change the meaning, I change the movie. And so now I start living in a place where it was horrible, it was yelling and screaming and meanness. And now I'm thinking, and now I'm more reasonable, I'm more rational, I'm more at one with myself. And so that's really what everybody's job is. Everybody's job is to get somehow to a place where I feel happier. What we're leaving is we're leaving fear, the world of fear, and moving into the world of love. That's what we're trying. We're all trying to do that. Everybody's got some way to do that. They don't maybe explain it that way, but that's what we're doing. We're leaving fear and we're moving to love. And so this was my way of doing that with a personal situation. Because after that yelling and screaming was over, and I was starting to get on the beach, I started to feel better. I started to feel like not tense and not nervous and not judging and not criticizing and not blaming. I started to lose all of that because that's the world of fear. And I started to feel better. And when I started to feel better, she started to feel different. She started to feel more willing to listen to me or more willing to think about what just happened. So that's a way to and there were, by the way, there were a lot of scenes like that that like too many to count.
Yeah, it sounds to me like she was a narcissist and you found a way to somehow get on the beach,
Mhm.
stay on it, and managed her, which is miraculous because narcissists are insidious. I mean, they are awful human beings who stop at nothing to bring all of us down and kill us. So, wow, this is insightful and amazing. Um,
Thank you.
do you agree that Marsha was a narcissist?
So that brings us up to the idea of a label. And so when you have a label, uh, what a label does is it locks something into place. Um, so psychologists have given us a lot of labels, and they've used those labels in all kinds of very complex contexts. And so in the general public, what we do is we grab an idea like narcissist, which is a label, and it describes a problem. It describes what's wrong. And so when we start to look into the lives of narcissists, lives of you know you know, revenge people, in the lives of addicts. And we go into these lives. What we find is these are very wounded children. That's what they all are. They're all wounded children that are doing different
Yes,
scenarios to
yes,
try to live in the world. And so that's what they're
yes,
all. That's what I started to find out, when I started, I
yeah,
didn't call Marcia a narcissist, but I could have called her a narcissist. But she was too busy calling me a whole lot more names than
yeah,
I was calling her.
yeah.
But if the reason I stay away from labels is because when I use a label and I put a label on a person, I'm locking that energy into place, and I'm locking that energy like it's not movable, and so it's kind of like, oh, she's a narcissist. That now that label's in place, and so I might even spend time looking up the meaning of narcissist. I might start looking up the meaning of books, like on Amazon. I think there's 40 books on narcissism, right? So I might start looking for a huge case to understand. That's my point of why I look for something to label, is I look for books to verify that what I'm doing is right. I'm labeling and I'm right. That's what I keep on. That's the thing that I'm doing, right? So I learned that I was doing that. I had a time of labeling, like I had a label called crazy, and I just called all kinds of things crazy, right? Because I was labeling crazy, and crazy stayed with me. It didn't go out there in the world. It stayed with me, and so I kept sticking to crazy, and I kept defining all kinds of things were crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, that's crazy. That's the craziest idea I ever heard. Right? I had that idea, and that idea was locking crazy into place in myself. And because it was locking it in myself, I couldn't escape crazy. So one day, finally, some guy was listening to me. He says, "How come you always say crazy? Why do you always use that word?" So, so you know what I said? I said, you know what I said? I said, I don't use that word. I don't think I've ever said that word. I couldn't even hear myself say it. I couldn't even realize I was saying it. But that's how an idea can stick. It can stick so deeply that it becomes invisible to you. You don't even see it. Somebody else has to see it and tell it to you. And so that's what the example of do you realize how many times you say crazy? I go, no, no, I didn't say crazy. I don't think I've ever said that word. But that's all
Well,
part of the learning process.
I um didn't know I was a victim of a lifetime of abuse by narcissists until in 2022, a therapist said, wow, wow, yeah, you are a victim of this. It what created me. And only at that moment could I switch out of victimhood to thriving. So, my point is, I get where you are, where you came from, and all of that. But there is a point in time when you're with a narcissist that you need to recognize there is no winning. You're not going to win. You're not going to get what you need because the happier you are, the more determined they are to bring you down. So I think you and I differ on that thought or belief, and that is good.
So when you bring up the idea of a narcissist and being a victim, it's almost going together, victim and narcissist. So the narcissist does what a narcissist does, and a victim becomes a person who is victimized by the narcissist. Part of what I've learned in my 40 years is that uh, the goal is healing, and what we want healing. And so, since all the people with all these troubles are really victimized children, and they're all going through these maneuvers to try to find some way to live in this world and supposedly win, uh, but there's no winners or losers. There's just people who are hurting. And so what healing does is healing. When you think about healing, when you just even think the thought of healing, and so that's what I came to think about with Marsha, that she would heal because she would heal by the feelings that she has. She like I'm not in part of that healing, but just I have the thought. I have the thought of healing. And because I have the thought of healing, I don't have to get in and understand anything about narcissism or what her problem is or what the label she has. None of that matters. All that I have to think about is I want to think about healing. Healing is what matters to me. And because I'm sending out the thought of healing, she's picking up the thought because it's on the train and she's feeling the healing thought. And so, because I'm thinking of the healing thought, now I'm seeing that I'm feeling better because I'm thinking the healing thought. And so, this is really not just about her and some enemy outside. This is really about myself. And so, whatever I think of that other person is really coming back to me. And so, because I'm thinking that, I'm thinking healing. And so, that's what I like to dwell on healing, forgiveness, those kinds of ideas are coming back to me and they're helping me feel better and feel happier.
I love that, and I was never able when I was never able to get to the point that you're at because the people I was with, family, friends, romantic relationships, whenever I tried to elevate my energy and move beyond, wow, they went full on hardcore, bring me down. And everyone I know who has traveled my road has said the same thing. So, in closing, what are your thoughts about that? I already know what you're going to say, which is amazing and true. And I'd also like you to give any words of wisdom to those that will hear this.
I think if I summed up an idea of this, ocean and beach and the rat and all these ideas, um, I think we think we're in a world that's a physical world with objects, and we think there's lots of things here. There's dogs and rocket ships and cars and tires. There's all kinds of things here. We think, but there isn't all kinds of things here. What there is here is ideas. Ideas is all that's here. And because ideas is all that's here, I think a governing idea is as you see him, her, you see yourself. As you see him or her, you see yourself. So
Yeah.
that's a governing idea. Now, why is it a governing idea? Because um, every time I take a rat view of life, I'm now seeing that person the way I see myself.
Yeah.
I see that person as terrible and critical and blaming and fault finding and I like, oh, I'm repelled by that. I see myself that way. I see
Yeah.
that person as something terrible. I see myself as something terrible. I see that person is really lonely. I see myself as lonely. I see that person is very fearful. I see myself as fearful. Every time it keeps coming back to myself because there's nothing here but ideas. There's no things, there's just ideas. And so the
Yeah.
idea is as I see him, I'll see myself. And I can't release myself from it. I can't escape. As I see him, I see myself. And I keep coming back to like, why do I feel this way? Because I'm like judgmental, for example. And if I'm judgmental and I feel like I have to judge the world, like, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, I forget that. I'm not doing that. Right. I'm judging lots of things. I'm seeing everything as judged. I'm now living as a person who's judged.
Yeah.
I don't want to judge. I don't like judgment, but here I am. I'm judging because I see myself. I see him. I see myself. I see her. I see myself.
Yeah.
And so that's a like a governing principle I keep have to come back to. As I see him, I see myself. And so when you start to realize, as I see him, I see myself, like, well, gee, how do I see him? How do I see her? And I start to take the inventory of what I'm seeing. And the more I think about it, the more I start to realize, oh, gee, that probably wasn't the best thing for me to conclude. That wasn't the best thing for me to believe. That wasn't the best meaning for me to associate. Because as I see him, I see myself. I don't want to keep seeing myself that way. Okay, now that I got the job, I gotta get the rat off my ship. Because the rat's the one who's trying to get me to say there's a world out there of lots of bad characters.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live like I don't want to live like that. I want to escape that world. So the job that we have is as I see him, I see myself. I got to keep on remembering, and that's not easy for people to do, especially if their
No.
awareness is not very high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that means everything I do about the world is coming back at me over and over again. It's
Yeah.
coming back over and over again. Oh, how inconvenient that is.
Yeah, it is. And I have always said we are a reflection of our friends, our life I am in. And you said that beautifully. Thank you. So, any final poetic or words of wisdom you would like to impart on people who will hear you?
um, Last words of wisdom. There's always a way. Now, why do I say there's always a way? We live in a world that is a world of no way. And the reason we live in a world is no way is because we live in a world where the rat is controlling the world. And since the rat is controlling the world, the rat has a foundation belief. There's no way. There's no way for this. There's no way for that. There's always some way to see there's no way. And because that's the world, when I say there's always a way, that
Yeah,
seems like such a simple, shallow statement. There's always a
yeah.
way.
No,
But
yeah,
what you're doing is you're undoing all of the rats. There's no way
yeah,
because it's a very critical, blaming, fault finding kind of place. And
yeah,
so there's always a way is something that actually gets you through a lot of difficult places. There's always a way. There's always a way. There's always a way. And that keeps you living free of the rat
yeah,
because there's always a way is the actually the counterbalance of there's no way. And that's what the world is. It's a no way world. And so you need an idea that keeps you buoyant and living in a place where apparently there's always no way, but you're just going to say there's always a way. And that's a
oh,
quick off the top of my head reaction to what's the final thought of wisdom? There's always a way.
There is. We always have a freedom of choice. So, to your point, there is always a way.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you,
dear
Sherry.
man, for your time and wisdom and sharing. I have enjoyed it, and I know my listeners will get a lot from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Really.